Okay, let's be real for a sec. If you're here, you're probably interested in losing belly fat. Am I right? It's like the holy grail of fitness goals. But it can be so frustrating. There's just so much information out there, so much advice. It's hard to know what actually works. So in this deep dive, we're going straight to the source. We found this awesome YouTube video with 5 leading experts in fitness nutrition, and they're breaking down the science of belly fat. We're going to cut through all the noise, all the gimmicks, and get some real actionable strategies. And to help us make sense of all this expertise, we have our expert here with us today.
That's right. We're going beyond just telling you what to eat. We're going to give you the why behind it so you can see real results. And speaking of what to eat, one of the first things these experts tackle is a huge misconception, spot reduction. The idea that doing endless crunches will magically melt away belly fat.
Oh, yeah. I remember spending hours on those ab machines at the gym thinking I was going to get a six-pack. What a waste of time.
Right. One of the experts. Lane Norton, he's a power lifter. He sets the record straight. There's just no way to target fat loss in specific areas.
So you're saying no matter how many crunches I do, I can't just magically target my belly fat?
Exactly. But that doesn't mean exercise is useless. It's still super important, especially when it comes to a type of belly fat that's actually dangerous. Visceral fat.
That's the kind that's like deep inside around your organs, right?
Yeah, it's linked to all sorts of health problems.
Okay, so crunches alone won't give us six-pack abs. And spot reduction is a myth. So what does work? What's the real secret to losing belly fat, especially that visceral kind?
Well, it's not really a secret. It all comes down to basic science. All the experts agree. To lose any kind of fat, including belly fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit.
Okay, so that means burning more calories than you're taking in.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But I think where a lot of people struggle is with the consistency part. It's easy to start a diet, but sticking with it long term, that's the real challenge.
You're absolutely right. That's why those crash diets don't work. The ones that promise you'll lose like 10 pounds in a week. They're just not sustainable.
Yeah, you end up feeling miserable, and then you gain all the weight back.
Exactly. What we need are sustainable lifestyle changes. And that's where this one expert, Alan Aragon, he's a nutrition researcher, he comes in with a really interesting approach. He calls it the 20 favorite foods method.
20 favorite foods? That sounds way more fun than a diet.
Right. It's all about making healthy eating, less about deprivation, and more about what you enjoy. So basically, you choose 3 of your favorite foods from each of the 6 main food groups: protein, fat, fibrous veggies, starches, milk, and fruit. That's 18 foods right there.
Oh, okay, I'm following.
And then you get to add 2 YOLO foods.
YOLO foods.
Yeah. Basically guilt-free indulgences, whatever you love. Maybe a slice of cake or a glass of wine.
Oh, I like where this is going. So it's not about restricting yourself. It's about building your meals around things you actually enjoy. That makes so much sense.
Exactly. It's much more sustainable.
It is. But what about protein specifically? I know it's important for building muscle, but does it play a role in belly fat loss too?
It does. Protein is essential for building and maintaining muscle. And muscle helps you burn more calories, even when you're not working out. Plus, protein helps you feel fuller for longer, which is super helpful when you're trying to eat less to create that calorie deficit.
So it's not just about hitting a certain calorie target. It's about making sure you're getting enough protein too.
Exactly. The experts recommend at least 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or 0.7 grams per pound.
Okay, I'm going to have to do some calculations there.
Yeah.
But what about other foods? Is there any truth to the idea that some foods are worse for belly fat than others? Like I've heard that saturated fat is the enemy when it comes to visceral fat.
Well, it's not quite as simple as good food versus bad food. But one of the studies they talked about did find something interesting. They looked at people who were eating more calories than they were burning, so they were in a calorie surplus. And the people who ate more saturated fat gained more visceral fat compared to the people who ate more polyunsaturated fats.
Okay, so give me a quick example. What are some saturated fats versus polyunsaturated fats?
Sure, saturated fats are like fatty meats and butter.
Yeah.
And polyunsaturated fats are things like olive oil, nuts, and avocados.
Okay, that's helpful. So some fats may be more likely to lead to belly fat storage than others?
Yeah, especially when you're eating more calories than you need. But the important takeaway here is that no matter what type of fat you're eating, if you're losing fat overall, you're losing visceral fat too.
So it's about the big picture, not about demonizing certain foods.
Yeah, but,
this is making a lot of sense. But I feel like we can't talk about fat loss without talking about exercise. And honestly, when I think fat loss, I immediately think cardio Is that the key to finally conquering belly fat?
That's a really common assumption.
Yeah.
But one of the experts, Eric Trexler, he's a bodybuilder and a scientist, he argues against the cardio-only approach. He says that the resistance training is essential when you're trying to lose fat.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Because it's all about preserving muscle mass.
Okay.
And that's important for a few reasons. First, it helps you avoid that skinny fat look.
You mean where you're thin, but you don't have any muscle definition.
Exactly. And second, muscle helps keep your metabolism high, which means you burn more calories at rest.
So resistance training isn't just about building muscle, it's also about boosting your metabolism and making it easier to lose fat.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about losing weight, it's about transforming your body composition.
Right.
But does that mean cardio is useless? I do enjoy a good run every now and then.
No, not at all. Cardio definitely has its place, but it's more of a supporting role.
Yeah.
It can help you burn some extra calories, and it's good for your cardiovascular health.
Okay.
But when it comes to fat loss, resistance training should be your priority.
Got it. So we've got diet, exercise. What else plays a role in losing belly fat?
Well, we've covered nutrition and exercise pretty thoroughly, but one crucial factor often gets overlooked: sleep.
Sleep. Seriously.
Yep. Sleep is super important for all sorts of reasons, including belly fat loss.
I know it's important for overall health, but I didn't realize it was connected to belly fat.
It is. One of the studies they talked about found that when people were sleep deprived, they gained more belly fat compared to people who got enough sleep, even when they were allowed to eat freely.
Wow, that's surprising. So even if I'm eating right
Yeah.
and exercising regularly, if I'm not getting enough sleep, I could still be sabotaging my efforts
Yeah.
to lose belly fat.
Exactly. And you might be thinking, well, what if I'm already in a calorie deficit? Does sleep still matter? And the answer is yes. Another study found that even when calorie intake is controlled, the people who got less sleep lost more muscle and less fat
Yeah.
compared to the people who got enough sleep.
Wow, that's pretty compelling evidence for prioritizing sleep.
It is.
All right, so we've got diet, exercise, and sleep all working together to help us lose belly fat.
Right.
But what about the mental side of things? Losing belly fat can be tough. It takes a lot of discipline and motivation. What do the experts say about
The psychological aspect of fat loss.
Well, they talked about a few things. First, it's important to be patient and consistent. They said that one of the biggest mistakes people make is giving up too soon.
Yeah, it's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results immediately.
Right. But real change takes time.
It does.
And second, it's important to focus on progress, not perfection. Don't beat yourself up if you have a slip up. Just get back on track.
That's good advice.
And finally, they said it's important to celebrate your successes, no matter how small.
Yeah, I think that's really important. It's easy to get so focused on the end goal that we forget to appreciate how far we've come.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Diet, exercise, sleep, and mindset all play a role in losing belly fat.
They do. And this is just the beginning. In part 2, we'll dive deeper into the specifics of resistance training. Stay tuned.
Sounds good.
All right, so in part 1, we talked about how losing belly fat is a multifaceted process. And something that really surprised me was how much emphasis the experts put on the importance of muscle mass.
Yeah, it's fascinating how important muscle is for our health and our metabolism. It's not just about aesthetics. Though looking toned is a nice bonus, muscle plays a huge role in regulating our hunger and preventing fat regain.
Okay, so we've established that resistance training is a must. But what does that actually look like? Should we all be signing up for powerlifting competitions like Lane Norton?
Well, powerlifting is great,
Yeah.
but you don't have to go to those extremes. The experts didn't give
So-
specific workout plans, but they did highlight the importance of engaging all the major muscle groups. So think squats, deadlifts, presses, rows, those classic compound movements.
So instead of isolating specific muscles, we should focus on exercises that work multiple muscle groups.
Exactly. Compound movements are super effective for building overall strength and muscle mass.
And a more muscular body burns more calories even at rest, right?
That's a great point. Resistance training isn't just about burning calories during your workout. It's about transforming your body into a more efficient, calorie-burning machine.
So it's like a long-term investment.
Exactly.
Okay, so far we're eating smart, hitting the weights, and prioritizing sleep. This all sounds great. But let's be real. Life happens. We get busy. We get stressed. Those cravings hit. What are some strategies for staying motivated and consistent when those inevitable challenges pop up?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Consistency is key, and it's definitely easier said than done. But remember what the experts emphasized: patience and celebrating those non-scale victories. Shifting our focus from quick fixes to long-term sustainable changes is crucial for success.
It's about progress over perfection.
Exactly.
So how do we actually do that? How do we shift our focus
Right.
away from the scale and towards those other indicators of progress?
It takes conscious effort. Maybe try keeping a journal to track how you're feeling, both physically and mentally. Or take progress photos so you can visually see the changes.
And it's important to remember that everyone's journey is unique.
Absolutely. Comparing yourself to others is a recipe for discouragement. Focus on your own goals and celebrate your own wins.
What about those moments when you just feel completely demotivated, when you just want to give up and reach for that pint of ice cream?
Those moments happen to everyone. It's important to remember why you started this journey. What are your goals? Why are they important to you?
Yeah, reconnect with your why.
Exactly.
Sometimes we need a little extra help, though, some support along the way.
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of a support system. It could be a workout buddy, a personal trainer, a friend, or even an online community.
Having someone to share the journey with can make a huge difference.
It can. And on that note, don't forget the importance of self-compassion. Be kind to yourself, acknowledge your efforts, and celebrate every step in the right direction.
This is really resonating with me. Okay, so we've got our support system in place. We're practicing self-compassion. We're celebrating those non-scale victories. What's next? Where do we go from here?
I think it's time to put all this knowledge into action. In part 3, we'll be diving into specific actionable steps that you can take today to kickstart your journey toward losing belly fat and building a healthier, more confident you've Tej.
This is getting exciting. Can't wait to hear those actionable strategies. See you in part 3. Okay, so we've got the science down. We know what to eat. We know how to exercise. We even know how important sleep is. But let's get down to brass tacks. What are some things we can do right now, today, to actually start making progress?
Well, it's all about taking action, turning that knowledge into results. And a good place to start is to look at your diet.
So pull out that food journal.
Yeah. And think back to Alan Aragon's approach, the 20 favorite foods.
Okay.
What are your top picks from each of the 6 food groups? Protein, fat, veggies, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've been trying that out. It's actually been pretty easy to stick to because I'm eating foods I like.
That's great to hear. And remember, protein is key for building and maintaining muscle. So make sure you're getting enough.
Yep, protein's my new best friend. Okay, so what about exercise? Where do we even start with resistance training?
Well, if you're new to it, I'd recommend starting with 2 or 3 full body workouts per week.
Okay.
And focus on those compound movements we talked about earlier. Squats, deadlifts, presses, rows.
Those can be kind of intimidating, especially if you're new to lifting.
Yeah, for sure. That's why it's always a good idea to work with a certified personal trainer, at least at first. They can teach you proper form and create a program that's right for you.
Okay, so we've got our diet, we've got our resistance training plan. What about cardio?
Well, cardio can be a great addition to your routine if you enjoy it, or if you want to burn a few extra calories. But it's not essential for fat loss, like resistance training is.
And don't forget about sleep.
Oh yeah, sleep is crucial. Aim for 7 to 9 hours every night.
Okay, so much good info. As we wrap up here, any final words of wisdom?
Just remember, this is a journey, not a race. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and focus on building sustainable habits.
This has been so helpful. I feel like I have a much better understanding now of how to actually lose belly fat.
I'm glad to hear that.
And to all our listeners out there, remember, you got this. It takes effort and consistency, but you can achieve your goals. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and never give up on yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Until next time.
Don't forget to check out the show notes for all the resources we mentioned, plus some bonus tips and insights. See you in our next deep dive.